Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Saturday, July the 6th. In this video, we're going to cover the 7-game night slate. I did make a video for the early slate on DraftKings. There are 6 games on the early, so if you want to check that video out, feel free to do so. It is already up on my channel. By the time you're watching this, it'll already be up on my channel. But like I said, in this video, we're going to look at the night slate, talk about pitching for these 7 games, work our way through the pitcher-player pool. I'll be sure to hit on all the options that I like today. Then we'll look at some hitters that I really like. We'll talk about some stacks that I'll be going to. And then towards the end of the video, we'll look at some BVP plays as well. Just before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. So looking at the top of the pitcher-player pool today, Gerrit Cole is our most expensive option. He's $11,100 in a home matchup against the Angels. So I don't have a ton of interest in Gerrit Cole here. This is just a really tough spot against the Angels team that doesn't really strike out much versus right-handed pitching. It's not the best lineup. There aren't a ton of good hitters in the lineup, but a lot of these hitters don't strike out much. Cole's also $11,100, which is a pretty expensive price tag, and I just don't think we need to pay that price tag for Cole on this slate. There are a lot of good mid-range options that I like. They give you a lot of upside at their price tag, so don't really see myself going to Cole, and I don't think I'm going to be playing much Giolito either against the Cubs. Just not a matchup that I'm really a fan of. And like I said, I really like some of the mid-range options we have. One of the mid-range guys I really like is Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray, $7,900 on DraftKings, pitching at home against the Diamondbacks. And on Yahoo, he's at $40. I think Ray's one of the better mid-range options that we have today. 4.3 implied run total for the Rockies, so Ray's definitely getting a little bit of respect from Vegas here. Rockies outside of Coors Field. Ray going to be pitching at home, so he's not going to have to face the Rockies in Coors. And it is a Rockies lineup that's going to roll out plenty of lefties. Right now they have 3 lefties in the projected lineup. The righties are Story, Arenado, Ian Desmond, who are pretty good hitters versus left-handed pitching. But Mark Reynolds not really been good this year, been striking out a lot. Chris Iannetta, not the best hitter either. I think Robbie Ray just gives you a lot of K upside at his cheap price tag of $7,900. So he's a guy that I'm going to be rostering quite a bit of today, one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. And then I also really like Kenta Maeda at home against the Padres. I think Maeda gives you a ton of upside here against a Padres team that strikes out a lot versus right-handed pitching. Maeda at $42 on Yahoo I like a lot as well. So if we look at the projected lineup for the Padres, their projected lineup only has one lefty in it, and that is Eric Hosmer. The rest of the hitters are going to be right-handed hitters. And Maeda is very good versus righties, gets a lot of strikeouts versus righties, and he has already faced the Padres a couple times this year. I think he faced them once this year and had like one of his best starts of the year. But 2 starts this year against the Padres, he's averaged 27 DraftKings points, has got an average of 18 strikeouts through those 2 games. Been pretty good this year against the Padres. I know one start he was really good, the other start he was kind of mediocre, but at $7,700, I think Maeda just gives you too much upside at this price tag to ignore. If you go Ray Maeda, you're still left with a ton of salary to pay for bats. You have $4,300 remaining per player to fit in bats. There aren't a ton of expensive bats that I really like today. There aren't really a lot of high totals either. We only have 2 teams, I believe, with a total over 5. We have 3 teams. The Mets versus Arrieta have a 5 implied run total. The Astros versus Andrew Heaney have a 5.1 total, and then the Athletics versus Marco Gonzalez have a 5.2 implied run total. Those are the only totals over 5 on this slate. So there aren't a ton of standout options when it comes to offense. I think there's a lot of ways you can go. There's a lot of teams you can go to. I don't think there's really any standout options when it comes to stacking on this slate. But when we do look at our hitters, the A's are going to be a team that we'll talk about when we get there. But let's go through some of these other pitching options before we move on to bats. So I mentioned Ray and Maeda in the mid-range. I really like them a lot. I think they give you a lot of upside. I think John Gray at $8,100 is also in play here against the Diamondbacks. I think he is definitely a guy that you can look to in that mid-range. And then if we're talking about value, if you need to go value, like if you want to pay up for Gerrit Cole, I think Miles Mikolas at $6K is probably your best option to pair with Gerrit Cole. Mikolas gets to face the Giants, very favorable matchup, facing a Giants team that is just not good versus right-handed pitching, has some strikeouts in his lineup, also a very good ballpark, pitching in Oracle Park, one of the most pitcher-friendly parks in the game. Mikolas is not a high upside play by any means, but definitely gives you safety in this matchup. Probably is going to get you anywhere from 15 to 20 DraftKings points. On a 6K, that's pretty good value. So he's a guy that you can look to if you're searching for a cheap SP2. But I think that's it for pitcher. I think those are all the pitchers that I feel like I'm going to be playing today. Let's go ahead and talk about some bats now. So I did mention this Oakland team. I really like Oakland here versus Marco Gonzalez. I think Oakland is one of the better options or better teams in terms of options that we have to stack today. Really like Matt Chapman at third base. He's 4,500 on DraftKings. He's kind of got it like a mid-range price. Really like him if you're stacking Oakland. If you're on Yahoo, I think he's a pretty good play over there as well at $19. So Chapman been very good this year versus left-handed pitching. Just throughout his career has always been better versus lefties than righties. Has a lot of power as well. 21 home runs on the year. Marco Gonzalez will give up home runs. I would say out of all the pitchers that we have on this slate, Marco Gonzalez is probably one of the worst ones going. So Oakland is definitely a stack I like. Really like Chapman. A lot of power versus lefties. Oakland with a 5.2 total. Definitely a team that you can look to. Also, Chris Davis really stands out. Just way too cheap on both sides. On DraftKings, he's only $3,700. On Yahoo, he's also got a very cheap price of just $11. So if I'm stacking Oakland, which I'm going to be doing quite a bit today, Chris Davis is going to be part of those Oakland stacks. Really hard to avoid. Batting cleanup with such a cheap price. Obviously a great power hitter. Although he's been a little cold lately, has definitely kind of hit a cold streak. He started off the year really hot, had like 12 homers in like a really short amount of time. Since then he's gone a little bit cold, but this is still a guy that has a ton of power versus lefties and righties. I think he actually has more power versus righties than lefties, but still versus both sides of the plate, he can hit home runs. 16 homers on the year. Really like Chris Davis as a cheap option, part of that Oakland stack. I think he makes a lot of sense if you're going to Oakland today. And then another team I think you can target are the Astros versus Andrew Heaney. Now Andrew Heaney I don't think is that bad of a pitcher. I think he's actually pretty talented. Has a really good curveball, gets a lot of swings and misses on his curveball. But this is a tough spot for him, having to face the Astros. He's been really poor lately. Heaney has definitely been struggling. He's given up a home run in 3 straight starts. Earned runs, he's gave up at least 5 earned runs in 2 of his last 3 starts. So this is definitely a spot where we can look for some Astros bats. Jose Altuve, way too cheap in my opinion here versus a lefty. He's only $4,200 on DraftKings, which is way too cheap. On Yahoo, they bumped his price up to $17, but I still think he's one of the better second baseman plays on Yahoo. So I'm going to be looking to Astros bats as well to go along with my A stacks. Springer, Altuve, Bregman I really like. Even the lefties you can target, I feel like Brantley and Alvarez are pretty good plays as well. And then you got value with Gurriel, pretty cheap. Reddick's pretty cheap. Tyler White is really, really cheap. But mainly like the 1 through 3, the 1 through 4, I really like of the Astros. Specifically Jose Altuve, just too good of a hitter to be this cheap versus a lefty. With the platoon advantage, we know how much power Altuve has. Also has a lot of speed as well. I just think it's a really good spot for him overall, and it's a really good spot for the Astros in general. So Oakland and the Astros, 2 teams I really like. 2 teams I'm going to be loading up on in terms of stacks. But these are my 5 plays today for DraftKings and for Yahoo. Talking about stacks now, I mentioned Oakland and I mentioned the Astros. Those are 2 teams I'm going to be going to quite a bit today. Really, there aren't any other teams I'm a big fan of. Like I think Mets versus Arrieta makes some sense. They do have a 5 total. They are a pretty cheap offense. Cano's looks like a great value at just $3,100. Even the expensive guys I think are worth their price tag, like Pete Alonso has just a ton of power. Jeff McNeil's been great this year. Not striking out at all, making a lot of contact. So you could definitely look to the Mets. I think both sides of this Cubs-White Sox game makes sense. I always want to stack against John Lester when I can. The White Sox are actually a team that have a pretty decent amount of power versus left-handed pitching. Garcia, Moncada, Abreu, McCann, Eloy Jimenez I think is a great play today. Really like some of the righties from the White Sox. And then the Cubs are a team that you can definitely look to stack. It's not a great matchup with Giolito. Giolito's a really good pitcher, but the Cubs are also a really good offensive team. They have a ton of great hitters. We saw them earlier this year get to Giolito and get some runs off of him. I know Contreras had like a double-dong game. I think Baez might have homered as well. You could definitely look to some Cubs bats. They did get priced down for this matchup, so they're a stack I wouldn't mind going to. 4.9 implied run total. Pretty high when you factor in the matchup with Giolito. But I think that's it for stacks. Let's talk about some BVP now. There are a lot of BVP plays on this main slate. I'm just going to cover the ones that really stand out to me. So Jose Abreu going 6 for 18 with the home run off of John Lester. Jose Altuve 7 for 19 with the home run off Andrew Heaney. Looking down here towards the bottom, Rhys Hoskins 4 for 11, 2 home runs off Noah Syndergaard. Paul Goldschmidt 22 for 66, 3 home runs off Madison Bumgarner. Ian Desmond 7 for 17, 2 home runs off Robbie Ray. Arenado 14 for 38, 3 home runs off Robbie Ray. Charlie Blackmon 19 for 42, 5 home runs. Obviously, a lot of that's probably coming Coors Field, but some of these Rockies have hit Robbie Ray well. Matt Chapman does have some BVP off Marco Gonzalez, 7 for 16. But I think that's it for BVP, guys, and I think that is it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. Like I said at the beginning, there is a early slate today, and if you are planning to play that, I did make a video for the early slate. Would appreciate it if you would check that out. Also, this will be my last video until the All-Star break is over. The All-Star break for baseball does start on Monday, so there's going to be no games on from Monday till Friday. Friday starts back all the games. I think there is a game on Thursday, but I'm not going to be doing the video for that slate. So Friday we'll resume videos. No videos rest of the week, guys. Enjoy the All-Star break. I'm not going to be playing any DFS. Doubt I'm going to really be doing Summer League or WNBA. Probably just not going to play anything at all. Just kind of enjoy the couple days with no DFS. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comment section below, or you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. Good luck on this slate, guys. Thanks for watching.